Howdy, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Vulnerability Time. I am your host and published author, Trenton Epizon Rucker. As always, it is totally lovely to have y'all here just listening. Y'all make the podcast. Y'all really make the podcast. The listeners and the special guests, y'all are the reason why this is international and that stories are being told, and people are healing from those stories. So I just want to thank y'all all for, taking the time to just even tune in and to be encouraged or to, just support. I really appreciate it, y'all, and so do the many people on this earth that you'll never meet, because that's just what support does sometimes. Support, it's needed. It impacts. This podcast wouldn't reach globally if it wasn't for y'all's support. So with that being said, we have a special guest today. His name is Matthew. Let's see. Okay, Matthew has a whole list of credentials. Love this. Okay, so Matthew's from Groves, Texas. Okay, went to Liberty University, former collegiate tennis player. I never know how to say that word right. Did I say it right?
Collegiate.
That's what I said. Okay. Collegiate. I was just making sure you knew. Yes, president of the Liberty Club tennis team, a bachelor's of science in theology and apologetics, pursuing a master's currently in religious education, and has been on 12 mission trips, 3 of them across seas in Thailand, Argentina, and Portugal. That is phenomenal, Matthew, but I believe that there's a little bit more credentials that you have. Go ahead and elaborate.
So, I have been an intern at a church right out of high school from 18 to 20 years old, and I was already a youth pastor at a church by the age of 21. So I youth pastored a church for 2 years before
church?
I transferred. It was Calvary Baptist Church in Maryville, Louisiana.
Okay.
Near Louisiana College, or now Louisiana Christian University, where I also went to school before I transferred to Liberty University.
Okay. Awesome. Dude, that's so cool. I mean, so before we jump into the topic, I believe we're going to be the base topic is going to be hope, and what that means to you, your journey, your story, whatever you want to share about hope. But first, dude, what got you? So, honest question. So, was it a passion that helped you want to be, a youth minister? Is that what you said, right? Youth minister?
Yeah. Youth minister.
Yes. Or was it more like obligation because family has already been in it, or what's the story behind that a little bit? Like, was it passion motivated or just
both? I would be the first in my immediate family to have done as far as church ministry. I do have some other relatives who've done some mission work across the world. I didn't come to a relationship with the Lord until I was 12 years old. It was around my junior year of high school where I started feeling a deeper call to work with others to get to know the Lord. And as I studied in college, I would definitely call it a calling from God to pursue ministry and pursue being a light and serving others.
Mm-hmm. Was there certain instances that how did you know, what were the signs? There we go. What were like the clues or signs of, okay, this calling? Like, was it people that you came across that, you've impacted, or was it a feeling, a deep feeling? Was it dreams,
So I had a youth pastor who really poured his heart into me. And when I was, young, in high school, lost and confused, didn't know where I was going and where to turn to. I had a youth pastor who was there for me, and he helped me through a lot and encouraged me and kind of played a big part in my development, my growth, and my life. And that is something that I wanted to give someone else, and to give not just someone else, but multiple people. I wanted to give that to other people. I wanted to show the world and show others that someone is there for them. There's always someone there for them. And so I would say it is a passion, and it came from someone being there for me and being a light and encouragement to me, to now I want to do it for others.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. It's way too early for me to be fucking crying. It's way too early for me to be crying, but that's beautiful, Matthew. So going on I can already tell I'm gonna be crying this episode because I already started. It's beautiful though, it's beautiful. So the topic of, a theme that you just mentioned, is hope for others, so what is your journey of hope? Like, what about that topic really resonated with you? Of hope. And you can go wherever you want.
So when I was younger, before I had a relationship with the Lord, before I had a relationship with Jesus, I put a lot of hope in myself. I relied on myself. And honestly, that wasn't enough. Relying on myself, I realized I wasn't powerful enough. I wasn't strong enough. I wasn't smart enough. I needed something greater. I needed a greater force out there to fight my battles and to be there with me in my challenges and my trials and my struggles. Mm-hmm. And I was at a camp when there was this band that was playing some music, and I looked around and I saw these other kids, and they were singing and lifting their hands, and I'm like, what are they doing? I don't understand why these people are singing to God or someone they can't see and someone they can't feel. That didn't make sense to me. And then when the band got done, the camp pastor came up and he started talking about this hope in Jesus, someone that you can rely on, who loves you, who cares about you, who will always be with you. And you know what? Sometimes he doesn't speak to you with actual words, but sometimes he speaks to you with a little tug on your heart. And it was in that moment I started feeling that tug in my heart. And when the band came back up and the music started playing, I saw all these other kids lifting their hands and singing to God, this person they can't see and they can't feel. I then realized I can feel God. And I can also see God through all of these people who are worshiping him, who love him and are singing to him. And that's when I went straight to the altar with no hesitation. And I bowed before the altar and I said, God, I can feel you. I know you're here. I know you're real. And I want you in my life. And it was that day I gave my life to Jesus. And I promise you, it was the first time I said, God, I love you. And I tell you, my life has been very different. It has not been the same since.
When you mentioned two things, but I guess we'll do this first one first. You mentioned, hope in yourself wasn't enough. That sounds, it's broad. So can you describe to us, were there any events, for example, were you going through just tons of depression, trauma, or just a lack of belonging? What is that not enough hope in yourself? What does that actually look like?
That's a great question, and there's several ways this can turn. But for me, I was young, and I would disobey my parents. I was sometimes a troublemaker at school. I didn't make the greatest grades. I was more focused on sports and what other people thought about me. And when I felt like I didn't please everyone, or I wasn't cool enough, or I wasn't great enough, I realized, like, I didn't need to be those things. I realized that I didn't need to be strong enough. I didn't need to be smart enough. I didn't need to be cool enough or amazing enough, because there is a loving creator. There is a God out there who thinks I am perfect just the way he made me. I think God makes broken things and turns them into masterpieces. He took a broken me and turned it into a masterpiece. And I believe he can do that with anyone.
Yes. I mean, from what I'm hearing from you is obviously I'm clearly hearing a theme of hope and stuff like that. Have you ever felt though that... So, okay, let me see. I just want to make sure I ask this clearly, because sometimes I mess up my words. I'm just like, what am I trying to say? Give me 5 seconds. I swear it'll come to me. Nope. I'm just gonna have to go for it. So, okay, have you ever felt though that, before or after this, have you felt that? Have you ever felt that you were like worthless or not valued? And even after, you coming to Christ, have those thoughts, ever came across your mind or your heart?
Yeah, of course. And so this is something I haven't shared with too many people. So this is something kind of deep that's kind of exposing some of my life that I wouldn't have shared with, just somebody, unless they really were a deep friend or someone that was trying to get a lot out of me or talk to me or get to know me. But there was a girl in my life who I fell in love with, and it became very deep. The relationship got really tight. It got really close. We were already talking about what an engagement will look like, what our married lives will look like. We had a lot of deep conversations about preparing ourselves for a future with each other. And I got COVID, and in the 2 weeks that I could not be with her, I could not see her, I felt just a very sudden drift. And sure enough, after we got out, she just still to this day don't really know what happened. She didn't love me anymore, and I was broken. I was broken. I was upset with the Lord. I was like, God, I thought this was it. I thought you were preparing me and her to be together, and we're going to do all these amazing things for you. I was frustrated. I was angry. I was mad. And I remember I cried in my room by myself, like night after night after night, until my roommate, and I'll say his name because he's one of my best friends to this day. His name's James Harden. Not the basketball James Harden, but James Harden.
Yeah.
He heard me crying on my knees in my bedroom. And he opened the door, just walked in, helped himself, got down on his knees with me, and he prayed over me. He prayed over me, and then he took out the Bible, and he read out of the book of Psalms to me, just reminding me, God is there. God is here. He has a plan. He has not left you. He loves you. Just because this hurts and you feel broken now, but just remember what you have told me and what you've told so many people before. God takes broken pieces. He turns them into masterpieces. That's the hope that I can rely in, is I have a God who loves and a God who cares. That yes, we live in a fallen and broken world where there is darkness, there is evil, there is forces against us. We are going to fall, we are going to hurt, we're going to have pain. But there is a God who loves, there is a God who cares, who takes broken pieces and turns them into masterpieces. And that masterpiece is you. That masterpiece is your life that he has for you, his will, his ultimate and perfect plan for your life. If you could just trust and believe. And in that moment, I started realizing, yes, I'm hurting and I'm in pain, but there is something greater coming. God does have something coming. And to this day, I feel so much better. I transferred to Liberty University, and God has done so much here. I mean, I got a bachelor's degree.
Yes.
God has done so much.
That is beautiful, Matthew. I am going to mention that I was crying, folks, just because this is vulnerability time, and this is, since y'all can't see this vulnerability from my end, I will state it and mention it. It's just really beautiful, hearing you, Matthew, say that this is not something you really shared with a lot of people, and the fact that you're being vulnerable enough to share this with people and know that this will go international and will help someone a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, 5 years from now, because you decided to take that leap of faith and just to be vulnerable and say, this is what honestly happened. So that's what made me cry. It was just really, and plus I thought you were about to cry as well, so that also is gonna make me cry. Like if I see someone crying, it's over, I'm crying. I'm crying. But no, I just wanted to recognize that and applaud you for that, because that's huge. You're coming on this platform that's to help and heal and to bring so much hope to many people, in different areas of our lives. It doesn't matter. So thank you for doing that.
I can tell you why I did not cry, and this is for all those listening. The reason why I didn't cry is because of the growth that I've had and where I am now. If I told this story in the heat of the moment, in the time that it happened, I'd be breaking down. But because of where I am now, I am living evidence of what the Lord can do. I am living evidence and living proof that there is something greater on the other side. You're going to get through it. Whatever challenges or struggles you're going with, the hardship you're going through right now, if you're hurting, you're in pain, you're suffering, know that there is something greater on the other side, and the Lord will walk you through it. Just trust Him and put your hope and trust in Jesus Christ.
That is beautiful. And I'm appreciating, your vulnerability, you just bringing you to the table. And this is the thing, this podcast is for everyone. It doesn't matter if you're Christian, atheist, Muslim, Buddhist, agnostic. This is for everyone. So I really appreciate, so I don't want someone to think, oh, this is just, like only Christian episode. Like, you don't have to be Christian, folks, to listen to this episode and take something from it. This podcast is for everyone, and I really appreciate Matthew being able to, come on this podcast and just bring him his experiences, his stories, what's important to him. And let us not forget that that is the framework of this podcast, is each special guest bring themselves. Don't worry about perfection, don't worry about professionalism, just bring yourselves, bring what's important to you. So I just want to go ahead and restate that, and thank you, Matthew, for that, for bringing your faith, you know what I mean? And so I want a lot of my listeners as well to, not, don't, knock this episode. You can still get a lot from it. You're not excluded from this episode at all. In fact, you're extremely included. So just want y'all to know that you'll never know when you'll need to hear something that Matthew has said. So I just wanted to point that out as well, that, I really appreciate, you bringing, your faith. If your faith is important to you, bring it, faith is important to me too. However, I just feel like this episode really can, help emphasize the importance of this podcast is for everyone. So thanks for the 13,000th time. Thank you. And something that I really liked, Matthew, is theme that you've said. There is hope when it feels helpless. There is healing from the helpless situations. If I start crying, oh well, I'm not going to stop myself. Yeah, exactly. I'm just really inspired and moved by you, my dude. Because it's that honesty equals healing. Honesty, it's like I've just encountered a lot of, whether they're Christians or not, folks that, it's just kind of like the surface. You know what I mean? We don't really see the middle of something. Like we hear the beginning, and then we see the end and they tell us, oh, I'm great now. But it's like we don't really hear what happens in the middle. The darkness that's in the middle, the doubt, the hope, the giving up, the wanting to give up, the falling short, when I talk to God, I'm being brutally honest. I'm like, he wants our hearts. I give him the good, the bad, the in-between. So I'm like, God, what the fuck? Like, what is going on? Like, what are you doing? And so to hear you, go that deep to be honest and to show us, what, this is what happened. We go through these things. We're humans. Not everything's going to be all pretty, perfect, and peachy, that triumph that we see, it had a tragedy, it had a test, before it, to get to the triumph. So, that's something that's pretty cool. I don't know, does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I mean, there is, like you said before, there was, you see the service level, we say, yeah, we went through this, but then, we talk about how we're great, but we don't really always talk about all the things that happen in the middle. And there's two particular stories that I have in my life that I can share, and I don't mind sharing, that also has developed from when I first needed hope to who I am and where I am now. And one is being inspired by my dad and watching him. I remember when I was like a little kid, I was very young, and we were playing putt, and I went up to hit the ball, and my dad was encouraging me from the sideline. He was like, "You got this, Matt. You can do this." And it was like the toughest hole to get a hole in one. It was so tough, it had like a little loop-de-loop, and then it was like a 2-story loop-de-loop, and then it would go down another loop, and then you finally would get to the hole. So it was like an impossible shot to get a hole in one. And I can hear my dad encourage me from the sideline. And I just want to let you know, this is exactly how the Lord is to me, how I feel him encouraging me no matter what it is I'm going through or what challenges it is that I'm facing. He is right there. And so was my dad. And I got to see that firsthand as a little kid. And as I hit that ball, and that ball went down the loop-de-loop, it went down the other loop-de-loop. And then it got to the point to where we can't even see the hole anymore because there are so many loop-de-loops. So as a little boy, I'm excited. So I take my little legs and I start running. Down that course and see if I got a hole in one. And halfway down, I guess I'm running too fast for my own little body, and I fall face plant into the ground.
Oh.
And I look up, and there's my dad. And I start weeping, pick me up. And my dad lifts me up, and he embraces me. Doesn't matter what you're going through in your life, whether you have fallen and you've hurt and you're broke, I promise you, you can look right up and say, Lord, pick me up. I need you. And he will embrace you because he loves you and cares about you. And in that moment, when my dad embraced me, when he loved me, I didn't even care about the challenge. I didn't even care about the hole-in-one. I just cared that I felt loved and I felt wanted, and he had me. As we walked down to the end of the course, the ball was in the hole-in-one. I tell you this story to give you a little bit of insight of where I kind of get that contrast between my hope, and that is seeing my dad's having encouragement for me and loving me and being there for me, and contrasting that to the Lord being there and loving me. But it also shows my relationship with my dad. You see, I had a great relationship with my dad. He was the manager of Domino's Pizza. I don't know if everybody knows what Domino's is, but it's a pizza place. He's worked there for 30 years. Now, I used to go to the store to say hi to my dad sometimes, but there was one particular day, some of you may have seen the credentials. I'm a college tennis player, or used to be a college tennis player. I was playing tennis one day, so I didn't get to go to Domino's to say hi to my dad. I get a text from my friend, and he said, "Hey, bro, is your dad okay?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" "Yeah, my dad's okay. I don't understand." It's like, and then he texted back, "I heard he got hit by a car." And I'm like, "What? You're just going to text that?" I don't understand the context. I don't know what's going on. And now I'm panicking. I say, "I'm sorry, I have to leave." And the first place I go to is where? Domino's Pizza. Because that's got to be where my dad is. That's where he is. And I drive up to the store, and there's cars everywhere. There's lights everywhere. There's an ambulance. There's cops. It's like I was in a movie scene, you know, when like I'm running and there's so much going on. And I look at the Domino's building, and there is a car in the building, right where my dad's office is. Car had driven into the building, and the ceiling came falling in on my dad. I'm asking around, "Where's my dad?" I'm like, "Where's my dad?" And an officer said they just rushed him to the hospital. And I'm panicking. I'm scared. So I get in my car and I drive as fast as I can to the hospital. Don't ask me how. But I beat my dad to the hospital. I beat the ambulance to the hospital. That's how fast I was driving. And they start rolling my dad out in the stretcher. And thank God he is telling jokes as they're rolling him into the hospital. He said if they wanted to drive through, all they had to do was call and ask. That's my dad for you. But here's the thing. The doctor said there was a cabinet that was in the way of the ceiling that impacted the ceiling. That may have been what saved his life. And they said that he would be okay, and they sent him home. A day later, the news came to the house, and they wanted to interview my dad. They were like, they set up the cameras, they set up the lights, they set up the microphones, they set up everything so they could do this interview with my dad for the entire community, for everyone to see, for his friends to see, for his family to see, for his peers to see, for his coworkers to see, for the entire community to see. The interviewer asked, so the ceiling came falling down on you, a car drove into the building, the ceiling came crashing down on you. We all want to know, how are you okay? My dad looked into the camera in front of his peers, in front of his friends, for the whole community to see. My dad said, "I am okay because I have the strength of the Lord."
Yes.
That is something that has inspired me since the moment that I requested and I came to the understanding that there is hope in the Lord. There is strength in the Lord. And that is why I've been able to turn to the Lord so often when I've been in pain, when I've been hurting, because I've seen it with my own eyes of the Lord doing something for my dad, someone who I have been inspired by my entire life. And the most powerful thing that has impacted my life is a friend I have named by Justin. Me and Justin were great friends. But then one night he called me on the phone and he said, "Bro, I'm going through some relationship problems." And I'm like, "Bro, I'm not the greatest person to get relationship advice from, but I'll be here for you. And he said, man, for so long, I wanted someone I can love, and I wanted someone I can be with. But at this point in time, I don't know what that is. Because he's been with this girl for quite some time, and then he saw her with another guy, so that broke him, that hurt him. And I said, Justin, it sounds to me that maybe you're not searching for a girl. It sounds to me like you're searching for something greater. You're searching for Jesus. You're searching for the Lord. And in that moment, he got to tell me a story. He got to tell me how his family knew God. His family were devoted to the Lord, but he never was. He never quite did. And it was in this moment that he wanted to. He wanted to be devoted to the Lord. So it was such a joyful night to get to hear my friend Justin pray this prayer of salvation, saying, God, I want your strength. God, I want to place my faith and my hope in you because I know you love me and I know you care about me. It was such a wonderful night to get to hear my friend Justin pray this prayer of salvation, to get to accept the Lord as his Savior. Just a week later, my friend Justin hit on with an 18-wheeler and died. The last conversation I ever had with him, he gave his life to Christ. He gave his life to the Lord. So I know where he is today. And I know his family and his parents, as they listen to this story and they know this story, that comforts them.
Yeah.
That the Lord is with them. He is with the Lord. He is joyful in heaven right now. And it was that moment that inspired me to do what I do now, to tell people about Jesus, to tell people about the Lord, because we don't know what tomorrow brings. We don't know what this next week brings. But I can promise you there is hope in Jesus. Doesn't matter who you are, I can promise you there is hope. And I believe there is hope in Jesus. And if you want that hope, feel free to reach out to me. I'm sure Trenton has my Instagram. You know, you can reach out to me.
In the episode description below. It'll be in the episode description. But yeah.
I would not mind talking to anyone that wants to know more, because I care about people. And if there's anyone with questions, I would like to answer them and get to talk with them, because this is something that I'm very passionate about. And this is why I do what I do, is because I got to see my friend Justin come to know the Lord before his passing, and that was the most important thing in his life. And he even said in that moment, I feel different. I feel loved, and I'm ready. And now he's in heaven, and he's happier than any of us, because he's in a world that doesn't have evil. He's in a world that doesn't have darkness. He's in a world where there's no more pain, no more sickness, no more death.
Yes. You know what, Matthew? This is the thing. Just so elated to hear your testimony. You're just you bringing Matthew to your episode, and now this is also your podcast as well. Yes, this is your episode, 1000%. However, this whole podcast, it's also now yours as well. Man, it's really beautiful what you're saying, you know. And yes, your Instagram, folks, Matthew's Instagram information will be in the episode description below. And then two, you know, he is in a way better place. And I know, because when I was 15, I died. And I will just say this, he is more than okay. It's insane. He's way more than okay. That's the thing. He's way more than okay. And, you know, sometimes I was just like, look, Jesus, I'm just like, look, I was like, look, I'm tired of this earth a little bit. I was like, people are annoying. But, yeah, no, all jokes aside, yeah. So, I mean, and I grew up atheist. I was atheist till I was like 15. And then I died, and then that all changed. So wow. Yeah, dude. So I just also want to apply more comfort, you know, add more comfort to your story, to your heart, and to those listening, that Yes. They are okay. More than okay, my dude. And they are aware of us. That is so cool. They're aware of like us down here. There's a lot that they know. I wasn't there long enough so that I can like I wish, you know, I definitely wish I was there long enough. It was amazing there. Like literally problems are nothing. Anyways, I'll talk about that in my commentary episode. Or I'll have you as a special guest again and I can dig a little bit more deeper. You can become the host and I'll be the guest.
It's like an interesting story.
Yes, but you know, Matthew, thank you. You know, for bringing you. You know, not being afraid to, you know. Well, this is the thing. Some things in life we gotta do afraid. You know, fear is technically like the bad thing about fear is it stopping you from action, not necessarily having it. I will say that. So, regardless if you're afraid or not, to share your story, your faith, you know, thank you. You know, because some things you gotta do it afraid. I know even, well, I don't want to like get biblical, but even in the Bible it says, do it afraid. Yes. But anyways, yes, Matthew, this was just lovely. This was wonderful. Before we wrap up, one, is there anything else you wanted to add? And then two, give a couple shout outs to some people.
Yeah. Like Trent said, there is my Instagram. You can reach out to me. I would be happy to talk with anybody who wants to talk or know more. I am praying for anyone who is listening to this, and anyone who comes across this, know that I'm praying for you. And I want to see your recovery. I want to see you come to a hope that can get you through some of the toughest of times. And those people that are out there, that I will definitely send this to. James Harden, thank you so much for being there for me when I needed you most, when you came down and you knelt beside me and prayed over me, because I needed that. You really played a big part in showing me that the Lord was there when I was completely ignoring him, when I was completely shutting him out. You reminded me and showed me the Lord is there and there is something better. And I can sit back now and be like, James, you're right. James, you are absolutely right. The Lord did get me somewhere. And I just want to leave anyone there with some verses here. It's just Romans 3:23. We all sin and we all fall short of the glory of God. But Romans 5:8. But God demonstrates his own love for us, that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Christ died for you and for me. Whether you would reject him or accept him, he still died for you because he loves you and he cares about you. And the most important thing that I want you to know, the best gift when you give your life to Jesus is not necessarily eternity in heaven, but it is Jesus himself. Because Jesus promises, I will be with you always. In Matthew 28, Jesus says this, I'll be with you always. You know, he says this to his disciples as he is about to go back to the heavens. He says, I'll be with you always. Some inspirational coaches may lead his team into a battle with a motivational speech saying, you got this, guys, you can do it. I believe in you, you can do it. Jesus instead motivates his disciples with this. If you know me, I'll be with you always. Keep that in mind. He'll be with you always. You can trust him and have hope in him. Thank y'all so much.
Thank y'all so much. And I will see y'all. Don't hang up. I will see y'all next Friday for the next episode. And once again, we just extend our appreciation to Matthew. And honestly, I'm like 101% sure that we'll be seeing Matthew again. So just kind of volunteering you, Matthew. But we respect boundaries on this show, y'all. So it's up to you, Matthew. I'll keep in touch with you about it. Just in general, I'll just keep in touch with you in general. Really grateful for the opportunity to even meet you and to even have you on here. Yes, and with that being said, folks, this is hope. This is faith. This is not giving up. This is hope even when it feels helpless. This is another episode of Vulnerability Time. I will see y'all next Friday.
Go.